Women, what's something that guys do on a first date that ticks all the boxes? Guys, don't worry about this. On the first date we ever had, my husband showed up late, interrupted me at dinner to reluctantly say he would pay for dinner. I was willing to split, but let me finish a sentence first. Drove around in circles for hours because he didn't want to do anything I suggested or have any ideas of his own. Told me to shut up while I was talking. He had to ask for a hug at the end of the night because he was just going to leave the second we got to my door. Left his coat in my house in the winter in the Midwest. Ignored the fact that we even had a date for 2 months. Just went right back to acting like my friend, like I hallucinated it. And I married this man. I got so nervous that he made all those mistakes, but he told me, after 2 months, that he was sorry and asked for a do-over. 12 years and 1 kid later, it's a fun story. Story 2. Actually planning out a date, not just repeating, I don't know, whatever you want to do is cool. Having a generally positive outlook or disposition, being kind to everyone we encounter, being funny but still polite, asking interesting and thought-provoking questions, doing gentlemanly things like opening the car door. If there's a clear connection or attraction, being confident about going in for a kiss at the end of the night, but without necessarily the expectation that it will lead to intimacy right away, saying, text me to let me know that you got home safe. Story 3. Asking questions and be genuinely interested in my answers. Don't just ask a question, then wait for your own turn to answer. Genuinely be curious about my work and my life and ask follow-up questions that show you're really trying to understand. It shows that you respect me for my experiences and knowledge, not just for what it could be for you. And be honest about what you love. Don't try to be cool. Your passion about something silly or nerdy is cool. Seeing someone gush about something they're interested in is really attractive. Story 4. Show up on time. Be well-groomed, but please, God, no cologne bath. Be polite. Ask questions. So many guys just blather on about themselves. Listen. Don't get distracted. Offering to pay is gracious. It's also antiquated, and going Dutch is fine, too. No surprises. Don't ask to go somewhere unplanned. It freaks us out and makes us think we may get ended and put in a dumpster. Say what you're thinking. If you had a nice time or want to kiss us, say it. Story 5. Respect my autonomy. The amount of men who try to push my boundaries within minutes of meeting me is very disturbing. My first date with my husband, he asked if I'd like a drink, and I said, nah, it's Tuesday and I'm a lightweight. Later on, he asked if I wanted to grab coffee after dinner, and I said, I had a great night, but I need to get going. He didn't push me for a reason. He didn't buy me a drink anyway, and he didn't get his feelings hurt and lash out. As a small woman who's constantly picked up by guys, if you pick up women because they're small and you think it's funny, they know that you suck because it's a terrible feeling. Ask the same questions 20 times in a row. Where do you live? I'll take you home. The guy once asked when I was out with a friend with no need for a ride home. Touched or kissed or had things brought for me that I definitely did not want. It made me feel so safe to meet someone who had a clear understanding of boundaries. My husband was also super polite to staff, a great and appropriate conversationalist, and exactly the right amount of dressed up. However, most men I know can do that and completely fail at boundaries. Story 6. Personally, I'm a sucker for a good joke. A funny guy goes a long way, but more dry humor than being obnoxious. If you're nice to me and the server and also just generally positive, that's a plus. I went on a date with a guy once who complained about how awful his sister was for about an hour. Like at unloading your problems after a long day and partners lifting each other up, but a first date is not the place to complain about anyone else in your life. Be honest if you don't have a good relationship with someone I might ask you about, but don't go, yeah, my dad's a complete schmuck and proceed with it for 15 minutes. I know everyone has a dark side, but the first date is about putting your best foot forward, and if I like the best, I'll deal with the worst as it comes. So general positivity is a big one, I guess. Funny, smart, and if you have a trait you think I like, don't be arrogant and over the top about said trait. Don't use big words if you feel you're intelligent just to make yourself look good. I'll get that you're generally intelligent just from speaking to you over time. Don't try to bombard me. It really depends on the person, though. I could answer questions from a woman's perspective better than I can say one thing that would make me go, he's a keeper. Story 7. When I was growing up, I watched a Bronx Tale, and the door test stuck with me so much. I thought it was perfect and totally a thing. On my first day with my husband, he walked over to my car door, manually unlocked it, and then as he was going over to his door, I leaned over and locked his. He had a brand new truck, everything electric. Remote start, remote locks. He could have pushed his button to unlock my door, but he did it himself before opening my door for me. He could have unlocked his door with his button on the way to his door, but I leaned over and unlocked it. He was the first guy I ever dated to do that. About the 5th date into us doing this, we finally talked about it. I asked him why he doesn't just use his button to unlock the doors. He said it's the keeper test from A Bronx Tale. I told him, I always thought that was so smooth. I was so shocked you did it. So it turns out it was something that had stood out to both of us. He said I was the first girl he dated to ever unlock his door. We've been so in sync like that since our first date. I frequently tell him to get out of my head. He's the best, and I love him to death. Our 15-year wedding anniversary is in July. When we go out on date nights, we still do this. It's our own little code for how perfect we are for one another. Story 8. For a woman only interested in serious relationships, I'm looking for personality compatibility. Be polite to everyone you encounter and be personable. I've never been one to play specific gender roles and expect a guy to pay, but it is nice to see someone who is a gentleman and will still hold the door and offer to pay. Besides just being a decent human being, a lot of it is going to be subjective. I want someone who has similar values as mine, and you can usually get a pretty good overall feel for that fairly quick. There is also a bit of an attraction value to all of this, though that is not entirely exclusive to your looks. Story 9. Try not to focus on a single heroic deed, or even several, that's going to seal some kind of deal. You're not there to seal a deal, you're there to grow a garden, step by step. Plant seeds for the next meeting. Embrace excitement for the future as well as the present. You'll stay more relaxed if you go into a day with the knowledge that anything could happen, and that's okay. Staying relaxed is the key, or maybe agile is a better term. Don't think about yourself too much. Act with them in mind more so, and the environment you find yourselves in. Don't dwell on things if you say something imperfect. Let it go and refocus on them and the fact that you're glad to be with them. Be able to laugh at yourself, but also don't be self-deprecating. Don't expect too much from them, nor from yourself. Step by step. Good times don't happen in your head. They happen out in the world. I'm a dude, for the record, and I know this is vague, but it's true. Story 10. A guy that smiles, makes me laugh, seems interested in how I'm doing. Flirts, but isn't overly love-bombing or fake charming, and it's nice to the waitstaff. I actually like if a little nervousness shows as long as they're able to reciprocate in the conversation, actually listening to what I have to say. My current boyfriend and I had a 12-hour first date because neither of us could stop talking. We just clicked and allowed each other to respond and actually listened. Also, a sense of humor gets me every time. He told me a risky one-liner about 30 minutes into knowing me, and it paid off big time. I still haven't forgotten the grin that came along with it once I started to laugh. Story 11. I don't know if it's just me, but I found it very charming when a guy is visibly a little nervous. Overly confident guys, in the context of a first date. There's nothing wrong with being confident, let that be very clear. Tend to think very highly of themselves in my experience, and those are usually not the type of people you want to get involved with. So to me, nervousness is actually a good sign as long as it's proportionate, of course. Also, a compatible sense of humor is a huge one for me, along with showing genuine interest and being able to playfully flirt without it being overly intimate. Subtlety is key. I have yet to meet a guy who had all these on the first date, though. But if I had to describe my dream man for a first date, this would pretty much be it. Story 12. If they act genuine and show that they're really interested, if they're on their phones and don't actively show that they're listening to what you're saying, it makes me feel bad about myself, and I don't want to date someone who does that, and they're really open about themselves. Of course, I wouldn't want to hear about things like their ex, but I'd like to hear their honest opinions on things. And if we have contrasting opinions, I'd prefer they respect it. It'd be really nice if they're enthusiastic when they talk. It's very refreshing to have an enthusiastic person speak about their interests with joy. It's very infectious and would make me feel happy to be around them rather than someone who lacks enthusiasm. It should be a given, but they have to be considerate, or I may just end the date early and walk off. If they act rudely, it doesn't leave a good impression, and I would not want to commit to that. If they're kind to the waiters and have common courtesy, it makes me think that they're going to treat me with the same kindness. Doing the opposite of these will make me want to leave and never see you again. Story 13. Don't overrule me. If I have a glass of wine and leave it at that, don't insist on another drink. Don't order me a cocktail when I'm at the bathroom. Don't get caught getting the bartender to put an extra shot of vodka in the cocktail. Don't say, when caught, come on now, honey, you're hardly going to sleep with me sober. Give a guy a break. Don't show up at my work the next week complaining that I broke your heart when I just didn't stick around to be date mistreated. The worst part of this story, my older female coworker is telling me to give him a chance because guys just do stuff like this to get laid and he seemed like a nice guy. Please tell me stuff like this doesn't happen anymore. I've been out of the dating scene for well over a decade. Story 14. My current boyfriend really listened to me, was engaging in conversation, brought up topics he thought would interest me based on what he knew about me, told me a lot of interesting things about himself, demonstrated what he was really knowledgeable and passionate about and was respectful of my time. It was really cold out and I was parked in the opposite direction as him, but he still walked me to my car. Almost a year later, he's still just as attentive and respectful. I found out on your next few dates that he really does check off all my boxes, but from the first impression in that first date, he checked off these pretty important ones, I thought. Story 15. I've been on approximately 30 first dates in the last 3 years. Nearly all of them were from a dating app with a few exceptions. After these dates, I get ghosted 80% of the time when looking for a second date. I generally let them down 10% of the time, and they generally let me down 10% of the time. I dress well and engage in conversation. I talk about the things that excite and inspire me and the things that I'm working towards, and I ask about the same for her, asking for details and stories. I suspect 2 things hold me back the most. Number 1, I live at home with my mother, saving up for school, and number 2, I rarely ever get intimate or physical on the first date, unless it's obvious that's what she wants. That was literally once, lol. I've been told several times that they thought I wasn't interested because I didn't try to kiss in the first date, but that's just how I am. I don't feel comfortable getting physical with a woman until I feel like I know them a bit better and that I definitely want to pursue a relationship with them. I don't know. It feels disingenuous if I did and then decided, nah. It's been weighing on me heavily lately, and after so much of it, I can't help but feel like it's my looks and lack of hypermasculinity. Below average height, 5'8", thin, and Asian, not aggressively physical. I don't even think I'm ugly, but those three things feel like real negatives. I'm starting to feel like women don't give a darn about finding a good guy. I'm afraid that I'm slowly turning bitter because of it. I used to get frustrated and think, I think I'm a decent and attractive guy. Why don't they think so? Now I just think, it's because you're not a big shot, successful, 6-foot guy and you're probably just going to have to settle. Story 16. I think most of the comments have covered the bare minimum, i.e. be a good human being. Specifically, for me and my personality, someone who can be funny without descending into weird cruelty. Let's playfully banter back and forth. You just have to know where the line is. Laugh at my jokes. It's okay, I'm freaking funny. And men who are weird when they're not the funny one are obnoxious. I also like it if you plan. I only have so much decision-making energy in me, and I spend a lot of that at my job, truthfully. If you're someone who says, we'll go here for drinks and naps and then this place because I saw a band was playing, you are my unicorn. Not pushy or rude and flexible if I'm into it, but someone else taking charge is so great and so much sexier than someone going, I don't know. If we're vibing and I'm moving closer and standing nearer to you, put a hand in the small of my back, touch your knees to mine, touch my arms when we laugh or converse. Some people have this strong, calm, physical presence and I gravitate towards that. Don't be crude, don't expect anything, and don't even be disappointed if we don't kiss on the first date. But I will remember that you made me feel safe and warm, with a bit of electricity. People are odd little creatures, and we all have different wants and needs, and not everyone is compatible. All we can do is be kind and communicate. Story 17. Bisexual dude here, but open and hold the door if you get to it first. Thank me if I get to it and hold it first. Be genuine and nice. Not just me, but to everyone we see that night. Exceptions will be made for legitimate schmucks who deserve nothing good, but that's an exception, not a rule. Neither pay for everything nor expect me to from the outset. Let that stuff happen naturally and don't fight about it. If I'm paying, just appreciate that and at least make some attempt to reciprocate if we end up somewhere else on the same date. Just be chill. Learn about me. Tell me about you. Don't try to influence me. If you start telling me all about how to fix my issues, unless I specifically ask at any rate, on our first date, I'm not going to be interested. Our first date should be more about being sweet and friendly than about trying to get laid or setting up our life together or whatever. Seriously, don't try too hard. Story 18. I asked my girlfriend and this is her answer. Just be nice. Don't try anything physical too soon or something weird. Be a normal person. Don't try too hard to be a man. It's okay to be shy or not pay for dinner on the first date. Don't you dare to have intimacy on the first date. It's okay if you want a one-night stand, but if you're going on a serious date, keep your stuff in your pants. Please. Have a sense of humor. My girlfriend, in fact, loves my jokes, although they're very dark sometimes. But when you tell a joke, you usually laugh and show a happy face, and that is a thing my girlfriend loves. Story 19. My wife said it was my nice leather jacket that got me a second date, but really it was the fact that I didn't have a go-to restaurant or bar. I made the plan specifically for her based on our conversations. Nothing big, mind you. Just that I took her to a nice spot to eat that we both seemed to want to try and demonstrated an interest beyond just going through the motions. You're on a date with her. Act like you want to be there, because if you don't bother going in the first place. Story 20. This is the opposite of the requested response, but there have been some really good responses now. And I think we're at the point in the thread where someone could bring up something else tangential. The mistakes implied by women here about men are rarely applicable in reverse. I've had many first dates with all sorts of women, and few of them have been on their phones, mistreated the waitstaff, or tried to grab me. There have been a few women who talked too much about their exes, or we just didn't have a whole lot in common. A few brought copies of my books to sign, which was creepy, but that hasn't happened in a while. Most of the women I've had first dates with have been really nice people who I've enjoyed hanging out with and talking to. That was a result of both our behavior. Women don't screw up on first dates the way that men apparently do, so maybe you should act the way that women do on a first date. You're having a conversation with someone and hearing what they have to say. Leave it at that. If something else comes of it, then that's great. If it doesn't, you still made a new friend. Story 21. Compliments what you're wearing. Listens to you and wants to know all about you. Is polite to servers and anyone who may be part of ensuring the date goes smoothly. Talks about his family or hobbies and shows you what he is passionate about and smiles a lot. Being funny is a bonus. Splits the bills or lets me pay for myself without making a big deal. Controversial, I know, but for me personally, lets you know honestly at the end how the date was. There's no point in saying you enjoyed it if you didn't. If you like the person but not the date type or location, offer alternatives for a second date. This lets them know you're still interested but just in a different setting. Story 22. I feel like every single answer from a woman will be wrong. First off, they aren't identical robots. Second of all, you rarely meet a woman or a man that knows what they want. We tend to decide pretty quickly if we're into someone. Very rarely will someone fall in love after getting to know someone. If you're looking for tips, there's only one. Act confident. Don't act like a schmuck. Just act confident with everything you do or say. Don't be afraid to admit to mistakes. Story 23. This thread is great. I love how people think there's a science to picking up a woman or a man, as if they were mass products of an identity. Then we talk about consent like it's a green light that pops up on a dashboard. Yes, consumer society has really made us think this backward. Of course, it would be unimaginable to listen to the individual human you're with and think about what they are like as a person, or even yourself, or to imagine that they would be anything but the purest and closest possible approximation of some identity or other. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 24. I always love it when a guy's open about being a little nerdy. One time I was talking to a guy who would not stop talking about how much he loved to work out and play sports, and it was honestly the worst experience of my life. Thank God there wasn't a window nearby because I definitely would have thrown myself right out. Honestly, if you like memes, nerdy stuff, or just to be an acceptable amount of weird, make sure to show it when you're with a girl. I know most people tell you to do the complete opposite, but those types of Chad guys just throw up so many red flags you might as well just be yourself. Story 25. Care about what I have to say. Ask follow-up questions indicating they care about what I have to say, and remember what I said, making it known they cared about what I said. Be kind to everyone around them, not just the waiter and me, but everyone else. Like holding doors for strangers, being polite to people, and smiling at strangers. This tells me a lot about them. Funny is great, but in a way that allows for banter back and forth. Have their own opinion and don't just agree with me on everything to try and win me over. I can usually tell when that's happening. I'm bad at conversation sometimes on first dates. I feel like most people are. So literally getting out your phone and searching top 10 questions to get to know someone and just plainly doing that can be cute or a flop, depending on the date. I do it all the time myself and it works great to get to know someone if you have awkward silences. Story 26. Someone who responds to me with the same kind of energy I put out. My current partner I'd known for a few years, but we'd never really talked. Then he showed up to a party I was at, and I offered him a cider. He matched my tone, happiness to see him, and the general energy of, hey, you're looking really good today, that I was giving off. We ended up having a long chat on the sofa at this party that devolved into us both playing with each other's hair, curled up together, and slowly realizing there was a whole bunch of chemistry there. I took the energy I was producing and bounced it straight back. We were very much on the same wavelength and shared several increasingly less shy kisses before the end of the night. By the end of the party, most people there assumed we'd been a long-term couple and were utterly shocked to find that we'd never explored this before that day. We were officially a couple within a fortnight. Story 27. I'm going down through these comments and I'm seeing a trend. Ladies want someone they can be best friends with. They want a partner in crime. Lol. We don't want a romance that after a couple of years start to fade because passion goes out after a while. Though that is nice, we want someone that will be a decent human and possible future family member. Even if the relationship doesn't last because of differences or doesn't make it past the first date. If you can see that you'd be a good friend, family member, or someone easy to love, you at least have a chance on a first date. Story 28. Not a woman. I meticulously made myself look good and agonized over what to wear and then turned up with an inside-out shirt without knowing it. She called me out and then I blushed and explained how mortified I was because I tried pretty hard. It seemed to go over well. I provided a reasonable way to interject, I actually tried to look good today for you, into conversation without coming off like a schmuck. So, turn your shirt inside out. Later, first date, as we parted ways, I accidentally said, bye, love you. Like, way earlier than I planned. It just slipped out. We're now engaged, by the way. I guess basically it's okay to be a goofball sometimes. It can be sweet or charming. I managed to seem charming and suave the rest of the day, but that day being bookended by a goofy introduction and goodbye probably helped me seem more normal. Story 29. I've only dated one person, and that's my fiancé. For me, it was that he seemed to care about me without being fake. He's an introvert, but still tried his best to socialize with me, and he was being honest about not doing certain things that all the other cool kids did at school. Those things were probably not easy, to be honest, especially since he was the type that's mostly quiet. And he did ask me questions about me. It seemed like he did it because he was genuinely interested in me and not because he felt that he had to. He's in general not that good at small talk and doesn't understand some norms when it comes to socializing. He's usually quiet unless he really wants to say something. We had many common interests and we love to analyze movies, so we bonded over that. Now, in later years, I've studied philosophy, so it's a subject I've really cared about since I was a teen. I felt a huge connection on our second day when we discussed philosophy, and it seemed like we had very similar beliefs. I felt so comfortable with him already on the second date that I opened up about my deepest thoughts that I haven't told anyone else. I felt like someone had never understood me on that deep level before, and it was nice to have that connection with him. This was, however, on the second date and not the first date. Story 30. There's no magic recipe because everyone is different. I would take all the comments with a grain of salt. I remember my first day with a man who would become my husband. He kept it light and fun with good back and forth conversation. He was kind and considerate and treated everyone well. I appreciated that he paid for dinner. Even though I made way more money than him, it showed thoughtfulness, and I personally like a small amount of chivalry. Don't worry, I paid for our next date. He negged me a few times throughout the night. Negging is tricky, but it's a worthwhile art to master. If you overdo it, you can really offend the person, but if done with a light touch, it's flirty and attractive. I was about an hour late for the date due to traffic, but he didn't give me grief about it. In my defense, I was also making sure to get my hair and makeup right in my brand new dress to impress him. I did frequently update him as to when I expected to arrive. Story 31. Pro tip, if you use phrases like, I put in the effort or exhausting to describe dating, then you're overthinking it and doing it wrong. I'm talking about initial interactions with people up to and after the first few dates. That's the feeling out process, and it tells me you're doing too much and taking things way too seriously. Please. And most of you have had a few conversations with people and posted some pics and texts online. That's the least amount of work. Marriage, kids, cohabiting, learning to constructively argue or compromise and managing a relationship after the honeymoon period is over. That takes the effort and can be exhausting. Every relationship or date I've had happen naturally, usually in a good mood, in a flow kind of state. I'd meet someone and talk to them, ask them out, and everything happened pretty quickly and smoothly. At the times I was thinking about what to say, where to go, what to do, what to wear, etc., I'd end up feeling like I hit a brick wall or the whole thing would kind of fizzle out. The most basic thing you need to do, in my opinion, are to have basic hygiene and dress in a way that compliments you. Doesn't mean business suits. If you're a punk, then dress punk. Remember, you want to attract the right people for you. Vet people as early as possible so you don't end up in an incompatible relationship. It should feel smooth, almost like a dance. Nowadays, I sort of know pretty quickly whether myself and someone are on the same page or not. There's a feeling there, almost like you're pinging with someone. Hard to explain, but it's there. But either way, let it go. There will be other dates. There will be other people. Be patient. Maybe they reject you and you find someone else. Maybe they come back. Maybe you meet someone tomorrow or next year. Be patient. Don't obsess over it. In the meantime, focus on enhancing yourself and your life before adding another person to it. You'll be in a much better state of mind for dating because you're not so outcome dependent. If it doesn't work out, so what? You'll still have your friends, hobbies, etc. that give you fulfillment. You only have one life, so why stress? Go have fun and enjoy yourself, single or not. Story 32. This isn't the only reason, but it's one that made me think, wow. I asked him how he would react if another guy came up to him and said he was interested in him. He said he would be flattered and would take it as a compliment rather than be disgusted by it. Seems like I'm getting amazed by a guy doing the bare minimum, but I rarely hear guys reacting positively to situations like this, and it's sad. They always say, I'm okay with gays as long as they don't like me. It has always annoyed me. Story 33. Listening. Not waiting for a gap so you can story top, literally clamping down on the need to fill the silence with what you want to say. Practice listening to her on the first date and asking specific follow-up questions related to that information. Radical and caring active listening. It's okay to ask a clarifying question like, so you like, or so how did you get into that if you don't mind me asking? Also, backtracking if you notice it's getting too intense too quickly, like, you don't have to get into that if you don't want to. I would never want to make you feel uncomfortable. Active listening. Story 34. If you fancy me and you can tell I fancy you too, show it. Use your body language. Lean in, smile, make eye contact, laugh when I'm funny. Say something slightly personal, like, I like your dress. This bit does not need to be creepy. The number of times I've been on dates, done all these things, and the guy has maintained a perfect poker face, I assume he doesn't like me. Then at some point, he just lunges for the kiss. This scenario is disempowering and also just less fun. Playing your cards too close to your chest, especially when I'm letting it all hang out, is not sexy. Story 35. Keeping the dynamic equal. There are loads of ways you can do this, but I specifically value showing a little vulnerability. If a conversation takes a turn into territory that makes me feel personally vulnerable and you tell me something about yourself that you feel makes you vulnerable in turn, that puts us back on a more equal footing. It doesn't have to be deep. It can be about an embarrassing band you like or some quirk that you're a little self-conscious about. Conversations are weird and it helps when everyone in them feels comfortable at least 90% of the time. Story 36. I don't, by any means, expect someone to literally be looking at me the entire evening. It's only human nature to take interest in the world around us. Perhaps I didn't phrase it correctly, but to me, being mentally present is having a genuine interest in the conversation, adding to what's being discussed, or at least acknowledging it in a thoughtful way. The opposite of this, to me, would be someone replying with one-word answers like, oh, yeah, no, shrugging, seeming ambivalent, or acting as if they'd rather be anywhere else. I don't think anyone enjoys being in a situation where they're forced to carry the conversation entirely, especially if it's a first date. As for your comments, specifically regarding ADD, if the person I was on a date with had been diagnosed and told me so, I would, of course, be understanding of the situation and not judge them for something they had no control over. Even if they were undiagnosed, none of these behaviors you mentioned sound particularly like red flags. I like to think, and perhaps this isn't the case, that I would be perceptive enough to discern whether someone is genuinely interested in the date versus someone who's just going through the motions because they're hoping they might get lucky. Story 37. Make it a conversation. Ask questions. Be open. Make sure there's an even dialogue where both parties are sharing. A meal date is great for this. If one person hasn't touched their food, that means they also haven't stopped to listen. I also appreciate it when guys make sharing a bill gracious. I like paying for myself on first dates, and I like dating men who don't expect to follow antiquated gender norms about dating. Story 38. Listen and respect what she's saying. This includes, but is not limited to, if she says she would like to pay. Try to forget all those stupid rules man parrot. You don't have to pay for all of it. You don't have to insist on holding the door. You don't have to pull the chair out, and oh my word, you do not have to wait to message her. If you're interested in meeting up again, a quick, "Hi, I had a great time. Would you like to meet up again?" is so easy. And of course, it doesn't have to come from you. Stupid rules women have about being asked out. It just cuts through nonsense of playing it cool. Story 39. Being a man with a plan. Pick a place, have an activity, and share an experience. Whether it's a restaurant you love or a fun thing you like to do, show that you're invested enough in someone to think about what to do and take care of the details. Sometimes it's fun to go where the wind takes you, but on a first date, I like to be taken on a date. And if I'm the date initiator, you'd better believe I'm getting tickets for the planetarium show and finding a great place to eat after. You'd be amazed at how many low-effort dates happen in the world. Want to go do something? Yes, what? I don't know. It's a big mood ender for me. Story 40. 2 things my girlfriend told me that she really liked on our first date were that I asked her beforehand if she'd like me to pick her up or meet me at the venue. For a lot of women, giving a random guy you've only been talking to for a short time your address is a scary thing. By offering to meet her, she thought it was very respectful and thoughtful. Second was where the date was. I brought her to a local food truck festival. There was lots of food and drinks, live music, and it was at a local nature preserve so we could walk along the trails to talk. She liked that the food truck setup necessitated paying separately for most things and that I didn't take her someplace fancy and insisted on paying for everything. It also meant she got to dress more comfortably and naturally than getting all dressed up and putting on appearances. The whole experience was a very memorable first day when compared to the typical dinner date. Story 41. I just went on possibly the best first date of my life on Valentine's Day a few days ago. I picked a place, told me the time to meet him, ordered a bottle of nice red wine when we sat down, ordered 3 different entrees and wanted me to try instead of both of us getting individual meals. All of them were amazing, and he seemed genuinely interested in me and what I had to say. Whenever my plate was running low or my glass was almost empty, he would ask me if I wanted any more and then serve it to me. I've never had anyone be so attentive to me on a date. It was truly so sweet, and I found it incredibly attractive how he did all the talking to the waitstaff. I saw it in a he knows what he wants kind of way, and I find that attractive. I know some people would not, but it was just overall a great date and night. It definitely ticked all of my boxes. Story 42. You need to be okay with whatever kind of date they're willing to have, especially on a first date. I don't like to do the whole dinner and a movie or whatever. It's too much time and too expensive for a stranger. If I'm meeting you off the internet or an app, and I usually do a late afternoon drink at a bar, some guys complain about that and it's always a yellow flag for me. Don't bring drinks from the bar. Have the waitress bring them or have her come with you to the bar or something. Dating is dangerous for women. Don't be surprised or hurt if she takes safety precautions when on a date with a stranger. Don't insist on paying. Offering to pay for everything is nice, but it's a yellow flag for me on a first date if they won't let me pay at all. Story 43. I don't think it works that way. It never ticks all the boxes. In fact, I had an average first date, but I was still curious about the person because he made it as non-datey as possible. We met again because the first one left us introspective and curious about each other. The second date was a chance occurrence, but it ticked all the boxes. I think someone who makes a date less interrogative, more situational, and candid is key. We met for breakfast that day, had coffee after, then lunch. We've been together for 8 months now, and I've never been more at ease with another human. Story 44. My current partner wasn't off-put by the things other guys seem to take issue with or think they could correct with a care from the right dude. Other guys always acted like I was looking for someone to fix the fact that I'm independent or that my confidence meant he needed to teach me how to be vulnerable. Like, nope, just secure with myself, thanks. And those were the ones who weren't completely off-put by my confidence in general. My partner just thought they were cool personality traits and genuinely listened to me talk about myself. He also didn't interpret our flirting as me saying, I want some intimacy now, and try to immediately get some just because we had a strong spark between us. Also, it was just as much genuinely himself as I was. Really, the moral here is don't be a schmuck and be yourself. There's nothing you can do to make that special click happen, but it wouldn't be special if it happened with every person anyway. If you mesh with the other person, it'll feel right. Story 45. I was out with my brother, his colleague, and his best friend today. My brother introduced us to her as someone who was dear to him, and we started talking with her as we usually talk amongst ourselves. We were having dinner, and my friend was incessant with talking. 75% of all words came out of his mouth. During that lunch, he spoke to her about looking for a place to get a massage with a happy ending. He kind of jokingly criticized her about the following. Photos on Instagram, showing his own better pics, as he's a professional photographer. He said her tattoos looked like cheap stickers. She wears glasses, and he called her blind. She mentioned she's slimming down for an upcoming trip, and he told her she's fat. Although none of us agree with her self-evaluation, she looks healthy. He wore a t-shirt that had geisha pics on it, and a very unkempt mustache and beard, where the mustache goes over his lips. They didn't ask her any questions about herself. All of us are in her early 30s, and she's a few years younger. You know how it ended? She was covering her mouth while genuinely laughing through most of it, while I felt annoyed and disgusted. I guess I'm just too old-fashioned. I can never pull any of those lines he said, even jokingly, with someone I'm meeting for the first time. I guess I'm overly considerate if these things can pass. To summarize, he didn't listen, he didn't ask questions, he awkwardly jokingly criticized her about the key things she said about herself. He spoke of disgusting topics while having dinner. He was not well groomed. The lesson here is there's no rule you can follow and be sure it is 100% true. Story 46. Not a girl, but I'll share a tale of when I did well on a first date and how I messed it up on the second. First date, we met at a casual pub, instantly clicked and had a great time talking, laughing, and drinking for hours. I walked her back to the train station and she gave me an incredible kiss before getting on the train. We texted each other back and forth for the rest of the night. Second date, I went too hard trying to impress and booked a fancy restaurant. She texted saying she had a really busy day at work and was tired but still wanted to make our date. This was my first clue, but I ignored it. I should have canceled the fancy place at this point and done something casual and relaxing with her, but I pressed on. I picked her up at the train station and she was wearing very casual clothes. Second clue, but I ignored it. We went to the restaurant where it was obvious that she felt very underdressed and out of place. I tried to salvage it by taking her to a bar afterward, but the damage was done. She was looking for a fun, relaxed guy who could laugh with her and make her feel good. Came off like a pompous tryhard on that second date. I'm not a fancy restaurant kind of guy, but like I said, I was trying way too hard and misread everything. Well, if you like these stories, here's more. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. Catch you in that video.